So in this episode of the video series, I'm going to be sharing with you your rental stress test sheet. I see it all the time. Someone finds a property in Spain, they run all the numbers and everything looks fantastic. And they assume those numbers are guaranteed. But what happens if they aren't? What if your rental income is lower than expected? What happens if you only get 50% occupancy? What happens if you only get 75% occupancy? And what happens if unexpected expenses occur? What happens if you cannot rent the property for several months? And that's exactly what we're going to look at today. Because one of the smartest things you can do before buying a property is asking yourself, what if things don't go according to plan? At the end of the day, hope is not a strategy. Many buyers build their plans around best case scenario. Full occupancy, perfect rental income, no repairs, no surprises. Unfortunately, property ownership doesn't always work out like that. Smart buyers prepare for the good times, but they also prepare for the difficult ones. So, what is a rental stress test? A rental stress test is very simple. It asks, if things don't go according to plan, does this property still make sense financially? Because if the answer is no, you may want to rethink the purchase. For example, you calculate your expected income as 24,000 euros per year. But what if you only achieve 70%, 75% of that, or 50% of that, or even less? Would you still be able to afford the property, or would it become a source of stress? This is one of the important numbers because occupancy simply means how often your property is actually booked. 100% occupancy means the property is booked all year. 50% means half the year. Most people assume very high occupancy when calculating your return, but it's best to be more conservative because reality is rarely perfect. Even when your property is rented, costs continue. Community fees, insurance, maintenance, utilities, taxes, mortgage payments. The property still costs money to own, which is why it's important to know whether you can comfortably afford that property during slower periods. Your favorite number should be your break-even number, because break-even simply means how many nights do I need to rent this property per year to cover my costs, not to make a profit, just to cover the bills. Because once you know your break-even point, you understand the risk much better. I encourage people to test different scenarios. What happens if rental income drops by 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%? Can the property still work? And if the answer is yes, fantastic. And if not, you may need to reconsider your assumptions. This is not about fear. I didn't create this worksheet to scare people. I create them because buying a property should feel exciting, not stressful. And knowing your numbers gives you confidence. So I'm going to put up a screen recording of the stress test sheet where you can see the property price, expected annual rental income, annual cost, occupancy, and stress test scenarios. It's very simple, it's not complicated maths. And I'm going to do this in both a spreadsheet version and a PDF version for those who are not comfortable with a spreadsheet. A property can look amazing on paper when everything goes perfectly, but smart buyers ask, what happens if it doesn't? That's why I believe every buyer should run a rental stress test before making an offer, because if the property still works under less than perfect conditions, you can move forward with much greater confidence. Now, if you found this video useful, please subscribe and share it with someone thinking about buying property in Spain. And if you'd like more resources, you'll find links below to my podcast and my book. In the next video, we're going to look at something that causes huge amounts of buyer's regret, which is choosing the wrong location. And I'll show you simple framework for comparing areas before making one of the biggest decisions of your property journey. So I'll see you in the next episode.